Education. What's wrong with it? Are we as students getting a fulfillment out of how we are being taught? Or is our creativity undermined through being forced to learn subjects we have no interest in?
Do I believe schools kill creativity? No, not necessarily. I think that there is ample opportunity for creativity in schools. However, children are forced to learn to sculpt that creativity within the boundaries of the system itself.
I think the most important skill for a teacher to have is probably the ability to read the classroom. Classrooms are not static; they are fluid, and I've taught in a lot of different places. I've taught in art design schools and 2-year colleges and 4-year colleges, and I think the biggest thing is to know who your group is that you're dealing with, and also you have to know if people are not responding in the classroom very well one day. If everybody's tired or if everybody seems just out of it, you have to have the ability to reroute and do something different.
Schools rarely reward creativity. You can walk into most school buildings and be greeted with a wall of sports trophies, maybe some pictures of cheerleaders, some pom-poms in a case, right? You're not going to walk in and be greeted by an exercise in creativity.
You might even say that they are forced to be creative in how they are creative. They must do it within a certain regimented rubric that only allows for certain things, but in terms of artistic creativity, musical creativity, even creativity in science and mathematics, I do believe that the potential is there. Granted, and you're going to hear me say this again like multiple times throughout this interview, the word system is very large. There are obviously some schools that foster creativity more than other schools. There are some schools who try to crush creativity and make sure that all you do is work within the status quo and do nothing other than what it is they have prescribed for you to do.
Say a question.
Do you think? You already said.
Yeah, like read it so I can put it back in the same answer.
Do you believe school kills creativity? And if you do believe that, give me an example of how it kills creativity.
I do believe it kills creativity because the skills we use outside of classes we're not using in class. Like if someone's really good at drawing, you're not using that in every other class other than like art or maybe history or something.
It's not hard to find things that criticize the education system nowadays, and with good reason. Is it really fair for schools to undermine our creativity by deciding what we learn and how we learn it? Why is it that schools don't put as much emphasis on basic trade skills like they used to?
I don't feel like I'm living up to my creative potential because I'm doing stuff like math that I don't care about at all, and it's not going to help me in life, so I could be doing better things.
I think that schools, to the best of their ability, have to provide a range of options adequate for the needs of their students. And as such, you certainly have to have a core curriculum of math and language-related skills. There's no reason why you shouldn't also teach trade skills, and you shouldn't teach tech skills, and really try to cover a spectrum.
I think we need focus on math and science. I would not want to pull away from that at all. In fact, I think we also need a heavy focus on English as a written language and as a spoken language as well. I think they're very important. However, there is an argument for trade skills as well. If we mean that those trade skills are focused in business education, computer sciences, technology, I think that these are the fields that we're going to see the most jobs in the future, whether it's working as beta testers for different apps and different programs, or if it's designing new software, or if it's actually getting out and selling the software and teaching other people how to use it. These are the skills that are going to be the most necessary in the near future, as far as I can tell. We are a very technologically driven society now, and I think that having trade skills in how to utilize these technologies is necessary.
At the end of the day, students are going to fall out into numerous categories. A lot of them are not interested in going to university. A lot of them are never going to be academics. A lot of them have no interest in becoming scientists or anything. They want to be mechanics. They want to be beauticians. They want to be any number of things without which society would arguably suffer tremendously. So we need all of these people. We need to value all of these people. I'm a huge fan of allowing students to learn trades. A lot of them really want to, and they excel at them. And if you put a student in a class at which, for which they really don't have the aptitude or the interest, they're just going to be horribly frustrated. And I don't think that builds a balanced person with a lot of self-esteem. I mean, if you look at Europe, a master mechanic is highly valued. We don't always value people as much as we should when it comes to the full range of trade options that are out there.
It tells you, like, at least in high school and stuff, it kind of makes you take the classes that they want you to, not really that you want to. Like, if you had a choice at whatever class you wanted to take, it'd be a lot different than the normal curriculum right now.
I think there should be a well-rounded education process. I think when you include the arts, you really anchor in kids that might not be necessarily drawn to learning trade skills or math and science. And so I think in order for a school to be successful, it has to offer everything. It has to have a very well-rounded approach. And I think Normal Park is a good example of that here in Chattanooga.
A magnet school is a school that draws students from all over the county. Magnet schools were created to build diverse populations of students at different schools. So the idea of a magnet is a draw. So there are magnet schools that are science and technology magnet schools, arts magnet schools. We're a museum magnet school. So there are different themes that sort of serve as a magnet to draw students to a school.
They are heavy on math and science, they're heavy on arts, and they also teach you how to utilize your skills out because they do field trips every week. And so you go to the Nature Center and you learn how to apply what you're learning at the Nature Center.
In a typical school year, our students will go on 25 to 30 learning expeditions to different museums or other places in the community. For example, when they're studying Tennessee ecology in 3rd grade, they go to the aquarium and they map the fish patterns of certain fish in the aquarium. Right now, our 7th graders are on their way to Atlanta to the body lab, or to the body exhibit. So they're always learning in very creative and different ways. And then every 9 weeks, our students build exhibits based on their learning. So the whole school turns into a museum. There are student exhibits and projects throughout the building, and really the learning of our students is celebrated because hundreds and hundreds of people come through our building every 9 weeks to see the exhibits that our students have created. To transition our school from a low-performing school that really no one wanted to attend to a school that's very popular and has, received a lot of awards took a lot of creativity. We had to design a curriculum that would really engage students and have their learning be more meaningful and more exciting. We had to engage parents in the process in very creative ways. For example, this campus, we did a renovation of the entire campus in 1 week through all community volunteers. So it was this massive makeover of this campus. It actually involved a lot of UTC students and then contractors and designers and lots of parent involvement. So in every aspect of what we do, we try to think outside the box, think very creatively about ways to make this a really magical place for students to learn and for students to be.
It sets a scale of measurement by which students are going to be relatively valued. And on that scale, creativity doesn't exist, so creativity has no value, right? And when your message as an institution is that creativity has no value here, then you're hardly creating an environment that encourages creativity or critical thinking or any of the other things that support or come from creativity.
He always wanted to explain things, but no one cared. So he drew. Sometimes he would draw, and it wasn't anything. He wanted to carve it in stone, or write it in the sky. He would lie out on the grass, and look up at the sky, and it would be only the sky and him that needed saying. And it was after that he drew the picture. It was a beautiful picture. He kept it under his pillow, and would let no one see it. And he would look at it every night, and think about it. And when it was dark and his eyes were closed, he could still see it. And it was all of him, and he loved it. When he started school, he brought it with him, not to show anyone, but just to have it with him, like a friend. It was funny about school. He sat in a square brown desk, like all the other square brown desks, and he thought it should be red. And his room was a square brown room, like all the other rooms, and it was tight and close and stiff. He hated to hold the pencil and chalk, with his arms stiff and his feet flat on the floor, stiff, with the teacher watching and watching. The teacher came and smiled at him. She told him to wear a tie, like all the other boys. He said he didn't like them. She said it didn't matter. After that, they drew, and he drew all yellow. It was the way he felt about morning, and it was beautiful. The teacher came and smiled at him. "What's this?" she said. "Why don't you draw something like Ken's drawing? Isn't that beautiful?" After that, his mother bought him a tie, and he always drew airplanes and rocket ships like everyone else. And he threw the old picture away. And when he lay out alone and looked out at the sky, it was big and blue and all of everything. But he wasn't anymore. He was square inside and brown, and his hands were stiff, and he was like everyone else. And the things inside him that needed saying didn't need it anymore. It had stopped pushing. It was crushed, stiff, like everything else.
Slip away. How close am I?
If it was all up to me, I would change it to make sure that every student had equal opportunities regardless of what school you went to, what neighborhood you were from, what race, class, gender, or religion you are. I would make sure that there were true equal opportunities in terms of access to subject material, access to resources, and access to teachers who care, teachers who are actually concerned with the growth of students and as individuals and as learners, but not just people who are there to get a paycheck. People who entered into the educational field when they were in college because that sounded like an easy field to go into. They themselves probably picked that major as soon as they were out of high school themselves and didn't really have a serious understanding of what pedagogy is, what it means to be a teacher of the next generation, and those people need to be weeded out. They need to be removed. If you don't have a love, or if you never had a love for teaching, but if that love is gone, then you should move on. You should go on to some other career path, and let's make way for teachers who A, want to be there, but B, who couple that with continuing education, continuing to make themselves better teachers in the the path towards making these students the best students they could be. So again, equal opportunity all around in terms of the resources, access to materials, and then access to caring professionals who want to be in the classroom.